The Secrets of June, The Mysterious Island 7. Global Power. No! Eric screamed. The earth seemed to swoop over at him as he plunged toward the jungle. In the second, he would crash into the treetops. Suddenly, something hard and bony wrapped around him. It tightened on his waist. It was Grogu's big claw grasping him tight. "Let me go!" Eric cried as the lizard lifted him high into the air. "Well, don't actually let me go, but Call. The huge beast shrieked. "Let me go!" The Grogu's flapped quickly past Eric's friends. They yelled something out to him, but he couldn't hear what it was. "Probably goodbye," Eric groaned, twisting in the Grogu's grip. The beast soared up the mountain. They slowed and hovered over a broad, flat ridge. Looking down, Eric could see a large mound of sticks and other junk in the middle of the ridge. The pile had a dip in the center. "A nest," he whispered to himself. "Please don't eat me." Call. The Grogu swooped over the nest. It loosened its claw and dropped Eric. "Whoomp!" he groaned when he hit the button. The Grogu circled once, then flew off. "Probably going to tell his friends that lunch is ready." "Yeah? Well, no way." Eric scrambled to his feet. The thick nest surrounded him like a huge ball. The walls of it, he figured, were about 10 feet high. He could get out of fairly easily. "And I sure can't stay here." Eric dug his right foot in and hoisted himself up with his tired arms. The nest was made of tangled branches and vines, and with them, Eric noticed the stripes of polished wood and red and yellow cloth. He knew what they were, the remains of Kira's ship. "Robots!" It's not. Then he noticed something else, something shiny and black. He stopped climbing. He peered down. "The armed glove," he whispered. He leaned into the branches, tangled the glove, and dragged it out. Carefully, he turned it over. The setting for the jewel was broken. The red eye of dawn was not there. Crack! And froze. Sounds were coming from outside the nest. He grabbed up the rest of the way and peered over the top. He left, he waved. "Eric!" Neil squeaked, scrambling over the top of the ledge. The others followed close behind. Eric jumped from the nest and ran to meet them. "We are safe," Kira said, "but not for long." The Grogu's made such an incredible fuss, and now the ninjas are coming. "Oh man," Eric said, "can't we ever get a break?" Clump. A pack of fat nin soldiers hustled around the other side of the broad ledge. "Guess not," they yelled. "Yes, Max skate. May I suggest we go the opposite way?" "Yeah, you got my boat," said Julie. The heavy red warriors wasted no time either. They quickly lowered their bows, and one of them shouted, "Yes again!" Skate. "Duck, everyone! Fire!" And Nin yelled, "Twang, twang!" Flame arrows whizzed by the kids. They skidded along the ground and crashed against the rocks. The ninja growled and reloaded. "Hey, ninja, let me give you a hand," Eric shouted. He threw an armed glove right into the center of the pack of ninjas. The fat warriors paused to look at it. "And we are out of here," Julie yelled. The kids dashed around the nest to the far side of the ledge. Max shot in front, scampering as quickly as his legs could carry him. Neil raced right behind him. They circled around the side of the mountain. "A cave," Neil said. "I see a cave." "I saw it first," Max chirped. They all leaped through the mouth of the cave and ran inside. They dashed into the shadows and held their breath. Max held up one of his legs. "Listen, the ninjas aren't following. We've lost them." "I think there is a reason," Julie whispered. Eric turned to look. "Oh man," he groaned. "Isn't there at least one place on this island that isn't dangerous?" Coming out of the cave depth, several large fuzzyless and long twitching fellows. Here we go again, Neil said with a sigh. 8. The kids huddled in the shadow as two large brown-shelled bugs clambered out from the back of the cave. Your family, Neil, Julie whispered. The bugs hissed and groaned. The fellows twitched in the air. Then the kids saw why, in the thin light streaming from the cave's opening. They saw a giant pit full of eggs. Julie sighed. Been there, done that. The bugs hissed again more loudly than before. Their tongues flicked at the eggs. Listen, people, Neil whispered. The bugs don't see us yet. Maybe we should just fight the ninjas on and on. 10 on 1, you mean? Max chittered. Holy cow, said Eric. There it is. He pointed to a pit full of round pink eggs. One egg was smaller than the rest. It was shiny. It glowed bright red. And it was shooting off sparks. The red eye of dawn, Kia whispers. My gosh, we found it. The bugs circled the pit, hissing and flicking. Julie bit her lip. Can they tell? Can they tell glowing red one with all the sparks it's not an egg? They are bugs. They aren't that smart. Believe me, I know. The red jewel sparkled again. Now I'm sorry, I threw the glove away, Eric said. How are we even going to touch that thing? I burn us for sure. Kia shook her head slowly. Maybe there is a way, Galen said. It was sparse anger that makes the eye dangerous. Neil's 3 eyes stared at the eye. And that means, I know, said Julie. It's like, if you are angry, the eye is angry. Eric nodded. And maybe if you are the opposite of angry, the eye ought to shoot those deadly red beams everywhere. What's the opposite of angry? Neil asked. Being happy? Like laughing and stuff? The bugs hissed then flicked again. That's a problem, Kira whispered. I don't feel happy. I just feel scared. Julie turned to Neil. Do bugs get scared? Don't look at me, he replied. I've been blessed once already. Besides, you definitely do not want to smell fried in secret. No, it's my job. I'm a wizard, sort of halfway at least. But how will we get past them? Max said, nodding toward the bugs. Julie held up her finger. Well, I have a plan. What plan? I asked. The one where Neil pretends to be their baby bug, to distract them. Neil backed up as far as he could. I don't think so. I may be a dumb insect, but I'm not that dumb. Neil, whispered Julie, they'll be so excited to see you. I can grab Jewel. It'll be a perfect nuts, Neil grumbled. They'll lick me with those creepy tongues. No way. We need the eye to have free, Galen, Kia said. Only Galen can make you suffer again. Neil was quiet. His fingers twitched and quivered. He cleared his throat with a tiny cough. Myself again? Really? Boss, it'll be funny, said Harry. Kia will laugh so we won't blow up. Neil sighed. I guess so, but next time someone else can be the bug. He fronted his fellows once, took a squeaky breath, then scuttled out of the shadow. Mama, Papa, he cried. I'm home. The big bug swung around, opened their fellows wide, lunged for Neil. Kia laughed as she scurried to the eggs. The bugs completely surrounded Neil, squeaking with delight. Hurry, Neil yelled. They are leaking. Kia left the huddle. Her hands closed firmly around the glowing red jewel. She got it, Max chopped. And it's not shooting red bolts. Neil, Eric cried. Get out of there. In a flash, the 5 friends dashed out of the cave. The bugs hissed and squealed, but the kids shot around the ledge and up side of the mountain before they could catch up. Higher and higher they went, until there wasn't any more mountain climb. They crawled over the last rise. A sharp wind passed over them. They found themselves standing under a dark open sky. They were on the edge of a white cliff overlooking the vast sea of Drun. Galen was there, wrapped in chains. 100 ninjas were there, guarding him. And Lord Spar was there too. Give me the jewel or die, he snarled. And there is a third choice? Neil asked at once. A wall of raging flames shoots up around the kids. Trapped again, said Eric. 9. At the White Cliff. The kids huddled together to avoid the flames. A prison of fire, Spar said. You may thank Witchy Demeter for the idea. Thoughtful, isn't she? My happy mood is fading fast, Kia whispered. The wall of fire edged closer. Let me go, Galen boomed, struggling against his chains. Give me the eye, you may all go, Spar told him. He snapped his fingers and one large nin raised his heavy sword. Your chains will be cut, Galen, you will be free. Max's 8 legs trembled. Don't trust him, Eric lit up. The flames called high into the air. The strange green winged sea flies were beginning to gather above them. Eric felt something wasn't right. What was it? Spar stared through the flames. I created the red eye of dawn centuries ago to do my will. You ever will, Kia said, trying to remain calm. All you do is put curse on people, like Demeter, like my mother. Eric kept staring at the prison of fire. Demeter's fire. He recalled how she had said once that she was friend to no one, not even to Spar. The friends slithered over one another. They glowed red and then silver, then red again. The ninja was afraid of fire. They wouldn't come close. But still, something was wrong. The sea flies buzzed lower. Then, in a flash, Eric knew what it was. The fire lit hot enough to burn them to a crisp. But no smoke was coming from the fire, and no heat. The fire would never burst because if there was heat, there was it. The fire wasn't real. If only lit hot, the fire was something else. In fact, it was hundreds of something else. Spar circled the flames. Soon he would guess. Demeter had tricked him. In an instant, Eric found the plan. He trapped Neil with his foot and glanced up at the sea flies. Then he nodded at the Nin with his sword. Can you pass something? Neil smiled a big smile. He twitched his fillers. Slowly, the flies lifted and buzzed over to the Nin. Give me the eye, Spar demanded. You ready to move? Eric whispered. He stepped to a wall of fire. Eric, what was he doing? Jolie said. Just follow me. He held out his hand. Master Eric, no, cried Max. No, Eric shouted. Near twitched. The flies surrounded the fat Nin. Oh, the guard growled. Sweating the flies, the heavy sword dropped to the ground. At the same instant, Eric leaped through the fire. He was ready to scream, but he didn't have to. The instant he stuck his head in, the flames ran over his fingers. The fire was icy cold. Zeus, I knew it, he cried. The strange creatures spilled in a shower to the ground. Demeter has betrayed me, Spar cried. Eric and Julie dashed over and grabbed the Nin's sword. Together they swung hard. Chung! Galen's heavy chains fell away. Now you will pay, Spar shouted. No, Spar, Kia cried. You'll pay for the curses you have put on people. Kahoom! Bright beams shoot wildly from Kia's hand. A terrible bolt blasted the ground near the Nins, sending them rushing in every direction. Another exploded near Neil. He cried as he leaped for cover. Kia! Galen shouted. You cannot control the eye. Your anger will destroy you. Throw it away, Max yelled. Kia hurled the burning stone at the sea. It is mine, Spar cried. He stuck in his breath and soon grew to twice his size. His eyes flashed. In his fins turned black with rage, he gasped his magic staff. Kaboom! Bolts of fire lit from the staff. They shot across the air to the eye. The jewel stopped its fall to the sea. Slowly, it moved back toward the spot. You see, the red eye of dawn knows its master. He howled, "Come to me, my jewel!" Laughing, he reached for the sparking jewel. Suddenly, kahum! The peaceful sea exploded, and a giant serpent rose from the waves. "Which Demeter?" Eric said. The serpent reared her head and opened her jaws. "I'm Demeter, Queen of Oceans." And with a single lunge of her scaly arm, the witch closed the claws over the red eye of dawn. "No!" Spark cried out. "Black was the day you were born. Witch Demeter, I'll find you." The serpent reared once more, then plunged into the water below, sending up a wave and crashed against the cliff like an exploding bomb. "Awesome!" Julie gasped, staring at the water. The sorcerer leaped upon a gurgle and soared over the white cliff. "Nins, follow me!" Then, turning to Eric and his friends, Spark cried, "We humans, you will end your days on this island. Crumble off, fall to the sea." The ground began to quake. Then a ship reborn. Cow, cow! The entire army of ninjas streaked across the sky after Lord Spar. The whole island rumbled and shook. Giant cracks split the rocks along the cliff. "Let's get out of here!" Neil yelled, stumbling across the ground to his friends. Eric gasped when he saw his friend. "Hey Neil, you are back!" "Right, what's wrong with my back?" Neil said. "It's normal," Julie said. "You are Neil again, not a bug. The eye must have blasted you back to your regular you. I always did like me," Neil said. "Let's go." The ground rumbled again and again. "This way," Garland urged. "This island is crumbling into the sea swiftly now." The six friends ran as quickly as they could down the white cliffs. They pounded through the tangled jungle. Rocks slid and crashed all around them. Trees fell in their path. Finally, they reached the shore. Crack! The giant white cliff above them began to split. "We need a ship," Kier said. Garland frowned. "We need something to start us off. Something to build a ship with." Eric's eyes went wide. "I know." He ran across the beach. There, hidden in the rocks, were wooden planks and torn sail from the old ship. "Can you use this?" he asked breathlessly. "Yes," said Kier. Quickly, they assembled as much of the old ship as they could find. Together, Garland and Kira spoke fantastic words over them. Suddenly, magically, the broken planks became hundreds of planks. Torn bits of sail folded upward into red and yellow squares of cloth. Zappa wind, more beautiful than ever, rose up before them. "Hurry up, bros!" Max pleaded. The monster they piled on. The giant sails filled with the wind, and the ship began to slide over the water. Crack! A large crack tore open cliff face, sending huge rocks tumbling to the sea below. "Just in time," Eric said. The beach and the jungle were swept away by crashing waves. A moment later, a towering mountain itself fell into the sea. The mysterious island vanished, as if it had never existed. The ship sped magically over the waves, leaning against the side, and let out a long breath. "Spot lost today," he said. Kier smiled. "Yes, for now he doesn't have the red eye of dawn. Now my father and I can search for my mother." "What will Spot do next?" Neil asked. Garland glanced across the water. "The Demeter is heading north," he said, "to the coast of Minter, where she became. What she became. Spot will follow her there, but there's a story for another day. Look, the sun peered through the dark clouds and shone over the sea. It is a new day, and look at that." And they said, "A city." They all ran to the upper deck. Rising in the distance were silvery towers of an enormous city. Sunlight glimmered on the harbor on many colorful boats sailing into it. Jaffa City, Kira exclaimed. The capital of Jurun? Home. We are home too, Julie said. There are the stairs. She pointed off the left side of the ship. The magic stairs were hovering over the calm waves. A few minutes later, Neil, Julie, and Alice stepped from the ship onto the bottom stair. I have no words to thank you, Kiara said, except to say to come back soon. Don't need such good friends as you, Colin said with a smile. Alice smiled too. As long as the magic keeps working, I'll keep coming. Julie hugged Kiara. You can count on it. Farewell, Mr. Neil, said Max. It was fun not being the smallest one for a change. Neil put his finger to his forehead and wiggled it twice. That means see you soon. The three friends waved the rest of the stairs to the basement above them. They turned to look one last time at Kia's ship as it sped over the sparkling sea to Jaffa City. Then Alice flicked on the lights. Whoosh! The stairs vanished below them, and the gray cement floor appeared in its place. That was so strange, Eric said. The weirdest still ever, Neil agreed. They entered the basement, Julie sighed, but somehow I can't wait until we go again. Me neither, said Harry. I wonder where it will be next time, Jaffa City. The cost of Mintar? Neil made a face. As long as they don't have bus. Anyway, as Colin said, that's a story for another day. Look, the soccer ball was lying on the work bench. It's normal ball once again. Light flashed in through the basement windows, but it wasn't lightning. It was the sun. The stone's over, I said. Then he turned to his friends. Anybody hungry? Neil grinned and twitched his fingers. That means you better believe it. And they all ran up to the kitchen for lunch.